Hello Internet, this is Grid Zeta, aka Zeta, formerly known as Skyhound 008. I promise you guys, this is the last part. I would consider this part 2 of my in-depth analysis of the final act of this graphic novel sequel to Power Rangers Time Force. If you guys have enjoyed it so far, please hit the like button and share it amongst others on the internet. That being said, quick recap. I just tried my best to give a brief analysis slash explanation of part 1 of the final act here. Just to be clear, this is also a reference to Power Rangers Hyperforce. I did explain that in part 2, which I will leave in the link below. You can go ahead and check it out yourself. And also check out the Hyperforce show itself. You can just search for it on YouTube. You'll be able to find it easily. But that being said, this graphic novel does reference Hyperforce several times. And I will admit, in my previous video, this does sort of give a bit of a messy, albeit like okay explanation in terms of the beginning of Power Rangers, but comics being as they are, they don't have a clean track record in terms of trying to connect the pieces. That being said, there is major spoilers. If you have stuck with me from part 1 to this point, kudos to you all. That being said, let's continue the journey. So, as I stated, Nadira finds out about the morphing grid and how the whole thing started, all because of Ferrex being the Frankenstein doctor that he is of the Rangerverse. So, Nadira finds out the chronoscripts was because of Ferrex being a bit egotistical, but at the same time, as we find out later, the girls find out that something needed to be fixed, but they don't know who is talking. And again, I apologize as I'm trying to explain and read here that it is hard to keep this thing balanced and talk at the same time. So the girls realize they need to find out more and venture deeper. But the creatures they were fighting in the previous bit break through. So the girls managed to find where the doctor used to be. And here's an interesting tidbit, and dare I say a bit fun. So Nadira finds a datapad, and here's a reference to one of the mutants known as Venomark. Now, here Nadira gives a quick recap in terms of Time Force itself. And as I was reading this was really fun. But the moment that Nadira is bringing up here is in reference to the episode known as Frax's Revenge. And for those of you wondering, yes, this episode is also mentioned briefly by a YouTuber known as the Disney Brain. If you guys have watched his in-depth theme analysis of Time Force itself, which I will leave in the link in the description below for the other previous videos here, I'll do the same. If you guys want to check it out, go ahead. I will say this much, you will enjoy it. But, quick recap, Nadira is giving to Syra about, I wouldn't say the episode of Frax's Revenge itself, but about Venomark and what Frax was trying to do at the time. And as a result, this is where the fun starts, but Jen jokingly tells Hyperforce Nadira to don't sum up her own adventures. Now I gotta admit, this is pretty fun, but that being said, that was a quick recap that Nadira gives to Syra. So they venture deeper, they find the mainframe. Lo and behold, they find what looks to be almost kind of like, I guess I would say, a skeleton version of Frax, albeit not entirely Frax, and he calls itself Frix. Syra loses it a little bit, and Jen finds out that Syra is a bit over her head, and the thing sends her back to the dinosaur age. As a result, Jen does what she has to. And it is at this point here that she gives, in my honest opinion, kudos to the writers for this. I know I'm going a little fast, so bear with me. But this part was really well done. She gets really pissed off, and those of you guys know that some girls should not be, trifled with. As she points out, for everyone you've hurt, trying to change things, for not just accepting the truth, we can't have everything we want. By accepting the past and moving forward, you preserve it. Which is absolutely true. And here is where she says the most important part. The past should be kept safe where it is. But despite destroying him, that's when data gets uploaded, and then you can see here indirectly that she pretty much did what she had to. And the morpher is still around. And Jen finds out, she pieces everything together, that whatever she did was mostly to prevent this from happening. So she goes back in time, gives the spiel to Syra. But here, what I like about the writing is that Jen is telling her to not let tragedy chain her to what happens. And of course, the coolest line as usual, once a ranger, always a ranger. So as a result, Jen points out to Alex that Rancic escapes, and then Syra eventually puts everything together. So after Jen gives Syra the black morpher, things are starting to shift again. And as a result, she finds an older Syra who followed her advice, and as a result, it stops the paradox from happening. So, that being said, Syra does what she has to. Things like this shouldn't have happened, and that they have to accept the consequences of what has happened. So, as a result, things supposedly go back to normal, and Wes and Jen literally continue where they left off on that date. As you can sort of see, it kind of references back, instead of the clock tower, to this little spot between space and time. And Jen tries to break to Wes the news of her trying to break up with him. But since this is being a multiverse, it begs the question, which one are we talking about here? All it does say here is that whatever they're at the moment is their present moment. Overall, I would say the writing's decent, the art's really good, and that being said, hope you guys enjoyed my analysis of this graphic novel. And for now, I will say this: Grid Zeta signing off, and may the power protect you all.